We've done nothing. We've smoked nothing. We've drank nothing. We are as clean as we possibly can be, and we're sitting on the curb and being treated like we are criminals. My friend who's laying there, a cop picks me up, slams me on the concrete, puts a gun to my head, and says, "You're gonna die tonight." African American male, knowing that the world is not gonna be fair. I don't know if I really cared as much then until that moment. Only way I can't change the color of my skin, but the only way I can make an impact or make an impact on myself and my family is to make as much money as I possibly can, legally, obviously. You know, a lot of times people think that they shouldn't have problems.
That's right.
That's the biggest problem.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Do you ever wonder what separates top performers from everyone else? Today's guest went from idea to building a $150 million company in less than 36 months, and survived having a gun pointed at his head and told he was going to die. Welcome, Karl Gorman, to the Full Potential Formula podcast, and I'm your host, David Brownlee. All right, welcome, Sir Gorman, Karl Gorman. It's great to have you here, man. Thanks for coming.
Great to be here, man. Appreciate the time.
Oh, man, we got a lot to talk about.
We do,
today.
man. We got a lot to unpack.
A lot to talk about. So, first of all, tell us what you do and what your background is.
Yeah.
And where you got started.
Yeah. So spent 20 years in corporate America, figuring out all the things that I don't want to do in life.
Yeah, like so many of us have.
But no, work for a great experience. Work for three of the largest financial institutions in the country. So MetLife, Sun Life, Voya Financial. Was a salesperson for them and really understood, the intricacies of just human interaction. And my wife, believe it or not, was having our second and third child at the same time. So twin girls. And so I was always interested in real estate. I always wanted to do real estate. I was doing some at the time. But when she, came home and was like, all right, we're not going to plan for one more. We're planning for two more. We already had our son, Grant. I was thinking, well, maybe I'll do a little bit more real estate on the side and get that going. And so I started, flipping a couple more homes, and literally it was a row of duplexes that we flipped. And so flipped those and bought it at such a great rate. We didn't have to, displace anybody. So we kept everybody in the homes, fixed up the outside, and then went to go fix up the inside, moved everybody to extended stay. Moved everybody back in once we got it fixed up, and I was there taking pictures, and this lady comes off her porch, and she says, "Are you Karl?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "GLH, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she puts her hand on my shoulder, and she says, "Thank you for changing the community."
Wow.
And so I was shocked because the whole reason to be there was just to make money. And I ended up making money and a difference all at the same time.
Making money and making a difference.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about your story. And so now your company, you've grown this company to, I don't know, 150, 250 million. It's hard to say depending on the valuation.
It's hard to say, man. It's even hard to it's hard to say. I mean, you got evaluations out there that look at your equity and say, well, we'll give you 7-8 times your equity, and then you've got companies out there that are calling us and saying, hey, we want to buy your company, and we know your operational skills, and we're now local, we're now national, so we've got offices all across the country, and so that's a value in itself. So when you look at it all together and our processes and all the things that we're doing and all the inroads that we have and the people that we have and the connections that we have, even in the political powers that be, our company is quite valuable.
That's amazing. And what really is cool to me is because I've known you for a while, right? I've known you for a long time. We should probably tell people. I've been Karl's coach, executive coach.
Yeah.
And so I remember when we were talking about this, and you were just coming out of the corporate world.
Yeah.
And by the way, you weren't just a salesperson for these companies. This guy's the nation's top sales guy who's performing at elite levels.
Yeah.
And coming into real estate from an idea in your head.
Yeah.
to, hey, there's something more I can do.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's that bringing out the full potential in ourselves and being on the journey.
Yes.
And you and I talked about it. You don't ever reach your full potential, but you can be on the journey to doing more, right? We can all do more. And to watch you go, and in 3 years, from sitting at a corporate desk to a however many hundreds of millions of dollar company in 3 years is unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that have been struggling for a lot longer than that,
of course,
that haven't reached that level of success. So we'll talk about how you got there and your story. Your story is pretty incredible. Yeah. So, the 4 pillars of, the full potential formula are starting with your purpose or what drives you. The second thing is your passion or your skills. It could be a passion you've had or a passion that's developed. We'll talk about that. The third thing is the people or the connections that you have. And then the fourth thing is performance. Because usually by the time people call me, they're like, we need more performance, and whether it's a big company or whether it's an executive or an individual, an athlete, an entertainer. But those types of things, to get a lasting performance, you've got to have the foundation. Yeah. And you've got a very solid foundation. So what drives you to do this? What is your purpose in having that conversation with that lady, and building what you're building right now?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at, our background, so my brother and I came from very humble beginnings, lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in the inner cities of Detroit. And my parents would always kid and said, the rats and the roaches that were in our apartment were vacationing. So they lived somewhere else. They didn't live in our apartment, but I remember, going to bed with, the scratching on the door, which was, the pests that were coming into our apartment. Wow. And I would say that had in my mind, had no effect on, our outcome. Right. So we went to college and did all the things. But now looking back on where I am and putting people in homes and getting them to actually own their own homes, that's a passion for me, because I know that, we are shrinking the wealth gap that exists in our country. If we can get people to understand that if they buy a home and the equity that they have in their home they can tap into, that's shrinking the wealth gap that exists in our country. So my passion has always been, or has been given to me, is to get people that look like me, or any creed or ethnicity, to own their own homes and be able to have equity to pass on to their legacy.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a big topic right now in the U.S. Is that these young people who are coming up now, they're doing everything right. They're getting good grades in school. They're going to college. They're graduating. They're getting a degree. They're looking for jobs. And even if they do land a job, it's getting harder and harder now. They land a good job. They still can't afford to buy a home. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and if you think about the recipe, right, the formula, right, the formula for people who are in this country is to go to college.
Yep.
Potentially to get some debt from student loans, to get out of college, then to get a job, get married, get a house, right? And along the ways, I think that there's a couple pitfalls, right? So, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to college, because we've got a foundation that puts black kids through college right now. So college is very, very meaningful, but I do think you got to go to college responsibly. Yes. And when you go to a loan, or you go to a bank and you ask for a loan, the bank doesn't say, "Oh yeah, sure, here you go." But when you go to the bank and ask for a loan to go to college, they don't even care. I mean, they'll give you whatever you want. And I just think that we have to do that more responsibly, because you can't go to college at these institutions, come out of college with a degree that you're not going to use, or the degree that has a job that's paying $60,000 and you got $200,000 worth of debt.
That's right.
That just doesn't work. Those numbers just don't work. So, my philosophy and the way that the world is kind of shaping up now is that you got these people who have a lot of debt that are coming out of college. They're trying to get a job. They may have a decent job, but not a high-paying job, and now they're renting. And the generation now is saying that they want to rent more because they don't have the opportunity to have a down payment for a house. And if they do have the down payment, they don't want to use it for a house. And so we have teamed up with a couple institutions out there to make it where there's no money down or 3% loan down, 3% of the purchase price down, so that you can get in a home, you can start generating that equity, you can pay your monthly mortgage, and by the time it's 5, 10, 15 years, you've got equity that's built up in your home.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Everybody complains about the problem, but
Yeah.
few people are actually trying to get a solution in place
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah, we even have a rent-to-own model, right? So, not to get into the weeds of this, but we do this, every other Saturday, I believe, we go through deals that we're doing. But we have a rent-to-own model that exists in our portfolio now, where these people who can come in, buy, rent our home from us, knowing that in 3 years they're going to buy it. And so a portion of their rent goes to their down payment.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. And then we've got some other folks that are out there that are matching those. So if you were able to get, $12,500 of your rent, a stipend that's going to be towards your down payment, we've got institutions out there that will match that. So now you're bringing $25,000 to put down on your home.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it's such a hot topic, and everybody's talking about it and finding out. We got to get you to Washington.
Yeah.
So you get out there and explain, like, hey guys, I've got the solution. I've got proof that it's actually working.
100%.
That's
100%.
amazing. And on this journey, when you first started off, your purpose was to make money.
Yes.
And where did you get that into your head? Like,
So I always, I was in, college, and I had, a run-in with some police officers, and we were on the campus of Western Michigan University.
Okay.
Or excuse me, on Michigan State University. And we were walking, the five of us were walking down the street, and we saw the police that kind of did a U-turn and came and started questioning us. And my friends knew I was pretty good with talking to people in general, even at that age. And they said, Karl, you talk to them. And I said, officers, what's going on? And they said, well, we need your identification. And I said, okay, no problem. And I turned to them. I said, give me your license, give me your student ID. Hand it to the officers. The officer now, we've got 4 or 5 more officers that have now come up, and now we're getting a little agitated, and now so they say, okay, well, you guys sit down on the curb. So now imagine this: you got hundreds of thousands of people walking by you. You're sitting on the curb. You're just going to the football game. You've done nothing. We've smoked nothing. We've drank nothing. We are as clean as we possibly can be, and we're sitting on the curb and being treated like we are criminals. And so they sit us there for 45 minutes. After about 45 minutes, they come back. They stand us up. They hand me all the IDs and say, okay, you guys can go about your way. And my friend says, well, why did you stop us in the first place? And the police officer got really excited, or I don't know if that's the right word, but he grabbed him, slammed him down on the concrete. I went to go, the reaction was to help my friend who's laying there. A cop picks me up, slams me on the concrete, puts a gun to my head, and says, "You're gonna die tonight." And so that made me feel like there was maybe more to life than I had thought about. Obviously, knowing I'm an African-American male, knowing that the world is not going to be fair, I don't know if I really cared as much then until that moment. And then, I think at that moment I said, well, how do I get into a situation where this never happens again to me or to my family, my future family? And so what I thought then was, okay, well, the only way I can't change the color of my skin, but the only way I can make an impact on myself and my family is to make as much money as I possibly can, legally, obviously.
Yeah.
And so, changed my major, went back to college went back to the university that next Monday, went into the guidance counselor and said, I need to change my major. And the young lady said, well, what do you want to change it to? I said, it doesn't matter. Whatever makes the most amount of money.
Wow.
And she says, well, you have to go into business. And I said, okay. And you have to go into sales. Okay. Put me in whatever classes that looks like, because I want to do that to make as much money as I can, so that never happens to me again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And learning that at such a young age,
Yeah.
it just stuck and wired you.
It did. And I felt like I was a decent student. I was a decent student, but that moment made me really take college more serious. And for me to be able to position myself to get a job to make a good amount of money coming out of college.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you gave all that up to go out and become an entrepreneur. Welcome to the club.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It was when you're learning about the entrepreneurial journey and you're learning about, being in corporate America, and you're understanding taxes and you're understanding leverage, things that are grazed over when you're in college, at least for me. I mean, I was a marketing and accounting major, and leverage was never talked about. I mean, I felt like leverage and debt, good debt, was never talked about in college. And maybe I missed those days, but I just don't remember, having a grasp of those concepts. And I mean, I've built this business all on leverage and good debt, right? So understanding that philosophy is kind of how I feel like we can take off, and not many people know about it.
Wow. Okay. So I do want to talk about that some more. So when you are coming up and you decide to become an entrepreneur, how hard was it to make that jump? Well, you were doing it on the side, right? So you still had your corporate job going.
Yep.
When you decided to make the full jump, how hard of a decision was that? And how did it go for you?
That was impossible. I mean, that was the hardest decision I could ever make. I had a wife and 3 kids at the time. I had a great corporate job, and I had everybody telling me that I was making a mistake. So you got all these people saying, "Don't do it," and I'm like, no, I think I can do this, and I think I can make a lot of money doing it. And I also think that the way that I'm looking at money is totally different. I mean, if you make $800,000, that's a good year. If you're in corporate America sales, you make $800,000. Well, in California, you're gonna leave with $400,000.
That's right.
My wife's gonna spend $300,000. I'm left with $100,000. Like, what? I just made $800,000, and at the end of the year, I got $100,000 in my budget. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so, when you start thinking about entrepreneurial, it's like, okay, well, it's not how much money you make; it's how much money you keep.
That's right.
And so, and real estate is the best way to earn money and not have to pay much taxes on what you earn.
That's right.
And so when I figured that out, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to necessarily make $800,000 to have the same lifestyle. I got to make $400,000 or $500,000 because I'm able to shelter my income with the real estate holdings that we have.
That's right. And so I like the way you rationalize that, right?
Yeah.
And then you went in, and so what was your goal the first year?
So the goal really was just to try to figure out how to, because I made $200,000 in the side business without leaving corporate America.
Right.
So the goal was, if I could double that,
okay,
then I think we're golden. We'll be in a great spot. I'll cash out my 401k, or I'll do some other things that, pull some other money from other places to make sure it works. But if I can make $400,000, I'm doing it.
That's amazing. And what'd you end up doing?
Well, I mean,
because I know this part of the story. I already know the answer.
I think we did $4 million.
$4 million. If I can make it actually, $400,000, and then it turns out to be $4 million in the next 12 months. That's fantastic, and that's amazing growth. And what do you think? If you're an entrepreneur out there, if you're a young person, I know there's a lot of people who are seasoned and seasoned executives and athletes and entertainers that watch this podcast. Mm-hmm. But if you're somebody who's younger and you want to start your own business, what was it that separates you? Because most businesses that start fail in the first 12 months.
Right. Yeah.
You excelled in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
What was it for you that gave you that edge to actually succeed? Was it the background in sales? Was it someone you met? Was it a mindset you had? What was it that
I think
allowed
it's
you to do
I think
that?
it's a number of things. But I mean, you had a big piece of that. I mean, executive coaching is huge, and the mindset, right? The mindset that you have to have as an entrepreneur is one that is almost like a pro athlete.
Yeah.
You've got everybody around you telling you that you're not going to be able to make it. You
That's
got
right.
all the statistics that you can look at and tells you that you're going to fail. And so if you have a negative mindset, or if you have a mindset that's just not even prepared for that. I mean, I had friends and family that were telling me that I was an idiot, right?
Wow.
Like, oh my God,
Wow.
you're leaving corporate America to go do this? Are you sure, Carl? I mean, I thought you were smart, but you're going to go do this? What?
Right.
So you got, friends and family telling you that, and that can wear on your mindset. And so I think the mindset in having a foundational footprint of the success that is possible makes you have a better mindset to be able to tackle those things. And then I think I think Tony Robbins talks about this. It's not about when you fail; it's about sometimes when you succeed.
That's right.
So now, if you are like when we had our first real coaching session, I was on the verge of real success. Like I had gotten this business, and I had, I'm doing some things, and we're doing some things right, and then I'm on this magazine, and this news station wants to interview me, and this person saying how great I am. So now it's gone from, this is never going to work to I'm going to tag along with you, and this is working.
Yes.
And then you become you is what I like to say is you get into rare air.
Yes.
And you got no one to talk to about what you're doing because they won't even understand it.
That's right.
They have no concepts of it. And so when we met, there was a few things. I mean, it was a 2-hour session, and it completely changed my mindset. And one of the things you said, and you said a lot of things that were good there, but one of the things you said was, the negative self-doubt and self-talk that you have, what if that you could change that to be a positive self-talk?
That's right.
And I never thought about it like that. You always go into, or at least I always go into a situation thinking about, what if this goes wrong?
That's right.
Well, if you go into the situation and say, what if this goes right? Both of those are realities that don't even exist yet.
That's right.
So you might as well lean into the positive versus the negative. So now every time I go into a room that I know I shouldn't be in, I know that these people are worth way more than I have. These people are way more educated than I am. They've done it, for 30 years. I've done it for 3. I go into the room as Sir Gorman versus Carl. I change my identity, and I think about what is possible and all the positive effects that meeting could have, or whatever situation is in the room. I go into it thinking about what are the positive things that could happen from this meeting.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know those numbers have gotten significantly higher than
Yeah.
the 4 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're talking, 9-figure deals
Yeah.
and different things.
Yeah.
And I know that for you, and for all of us, the thing that makes the difference is the identity of who we are in those moments.
Yeah.
Because if I'm, somebody who doesn't think that I belong in the room, or I can't be there, or, I won't be successful, I can't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is that's the ceiling that I've created for myself.
100%.
And I can't get by that.
Yep.
Right. And so when we create identity, well, who would I have to be in order to get that result?
Right.
What would I have to do?
Yeah.
Well, how would that person think?
Yeah.
Who would that person call? Who would that person be hanging around with? Right.
Yeah.
And you play. It's all a mind game.
It's all a mind
at the end
game.
of the day.
It is. Yeah.
It's all a mind game.
Yeah.
And so you create these identities of this person. And for you, it's
Yeah.
Sir Gorman.
That's
this
it.
This is a guy. He can't miss.
Can't miss.
He can't miss.
He can't miss.
And he keeps growing and growing and growing. And
Yeah.
there's no ceiling to it.
Yeah.
And when we talk about reaching your full potential, being on that journey.
Yeah.
In order to get there, you have to have the mindset to get there. That's 80% of the
90
of the good thing. 90%. That's 90% of the
90%
success
of it,
right
man.
there.
Because if you don't have that, everything else will fall around you. I mean, there's days where there's bad news that that comes every day.
Yep.
When you're an entrepreneur, every day.
Yep.
There's not a day that goes by. There's not a day that you get rest. That the Saturday, Sunday, when there's nothing coming in, there's bad news.
That's right.
And so, and you talk about this too. It's like, look around the room and try to identify with something that's red. And then you look around and you find all the things that are red. Close your eyes. Now, what was blue, Carl? Well, I didn't see any blue because I was looking for red.
That's right.
And so
That's right.
It's the same thing about, when you're looking at the positives, it's like focus on what you do have, not what you don't have.
Yes.
The lack that you have, you focus on what you do have and all the things that you can potentially accomplish.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I was in the corporate world for a while,
Yeah.
and I was in a relationship that ended badly. I had spent up all my money, and I ended up living on my best friend's floor on a mattress that you pulled out of the couch. You pulled out the couch. We put it in his dining room.
Yeah.
And I'm living in his dining room.
Yeah.
And that's where I started my first business. And I started thinking and I just wanted money, right?
Yeah.
And never ask, can it get any worse than this,
Yeah,
right?
right,
Because
right.
life has a way of dishing it out to
Yeah.
you. And from there, I started a company, and for me, it was kind of similar.
Yeah.
I was making $60,000 in the corporate world back then. This
Yeah.
is back in the '90s.
Yeah.
And you had an expense account.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Everything was great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I could just make not even $60,000.
Yeah.
Both my parents were teachers.
Yeah.
And I think the average price was $35,000,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
salary was
Salary was
$35 grand.
$35,000, yeah.
If I could make 35 grand and have my own freedom and be
Yeah.
able to travel and do all these things, that was one reason I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Is I wanted to travel.
Yeah. Interesting.
But at this point, I just need to make some money. If I could make $35,000, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And that first year, I made over $100,000,
Yeah.
which might as well have been $1 million.
Yeah, might as well.
Well, it's been $1 million bucks.
Yeah.
And that started, and it changed my perspective.
Yeah.
And it changed who I became, and my
Yeah.
identity became somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a
Yeah.
business owner.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then as we expanded and you bring more people onto your
Yeah.
team, and I
Yeah.
think you're up to 160
Yeah, I mean,
folks that are working for you
1099,
now.
I think it's 160 folks that are 1099 that are in our
amazing.
operation. Yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And as things start to grow, your identity starts to grow.
100%.
And that's when you're growing and contributing
Yeah.
to communities.
Yeah.
And that's where the full potential comes out, is being
100%.
able to grow and to contribute.
Yeah,
And
give
before
back.
you know it, you look back where you used to be.
Yeah,
And you're like, wow, I've come a little further.
Yeah.
Because high achievers,
yeah,
right? Like top performers,
Yeah.
they rarely stop and take a look back to
Yeah.
where they used to be.
Right.
And they're always looking forward and always looking forward.
Yeah.
That's why they're so successful.
That's it. Yeah,
But when
sure.
you take a look back, it's like, wow, I came there. I did grow.
Yeah.
I did. And okay, so what's next? Let's
Yeah.
keep growing. Let's
Yep,
keep going.
exactly.
And a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, the idea is, they got a boss that's yelling at them.
Yeah.
They're like, no more bosses yelling at me. Oh, you have bosses. They're just called clients now.
Yeah,
right?
it's a totally different ship. But yeah,
It's a
somebody's
shift.
still yelling at you.
So somebody's still there. Hopefully they're not yelling at you, but they're still there. You're accountable to somebody. And like
Yeah.
you say, there's a
Yeah.
challenge you have to come over every day.
Yeah.
And to get through that,
Yeah.
you've got to have the right mindset
100%.
to get through those challenges.
Right.
Entrepreneurship's not for everybody.
No.
Some of those things, I'll tell people, you got to get used to sleepless nights,
Yeah.
cold sweats,
100%.
waking up at 3 a.m. Like,
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
right? The
Exactly.
anxiety. And anybody who's a business owner
Yep.
knows what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Right. Yeah, right.
And I like that concept of rare air. We need a
Yeah.
community of where people can come together
Yeah.
and they can share with peers who actually do get the perspective,
100%.
who do understand. And that's why we've created the Full
Yeah.
Potential Formula community
Yeah.
that we're in.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
and for you, so what is next for you? Like, where do you see this going for you? What's the next stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just expanded to Arizona, so we've now got an office in Arizona. We've got an office in Florida. We're really trying to figure out, or not figure out, but we're just trying to understand where the wealth is being driven in our country. Right, there's a lot of people exiting from California. I live in California, love it here, but there's a lot of people that are moving from here. The state income taxes are a lot lower in some of these other places. There's none in Texas. There's none in Florida. So there's a lot of money moving there. And I think we want to be around where, the money is, right? We want to be where the people are, the population, the money. So, getting offices across the country is the next goal. I mean, we're in Michigan, Ohio, Indianapolis, Dallas, Houston, Florida, and Arizona now. But we could expand that footprint. And so, moving out to all these other places makes me feel good, man. Just because we're not just, it's like, one of my friends says, well, how big do you want to be? Like, how much money is enough? And I'm like, it's not even about the money now. It's about the legacy. Yes. It's about being able to have a conversation like I had yesterday with an old African-American man saying, I can't believe what you're doing. This is unbelievable. I haven't seen a young black man do this in a long time. That's right. Those conversations, man, are impactful. That's what I want to leave my legacy to be. Yes. The money will come, I think, and the money starts chasing you after a while. So that'll come. But I want to grow this thing so it could be as big as it possibly can be. And impact as many lives as it can possibly impact, and just and keep it going. I just think about the single moms that are out there that are, they've got 2 or 3 kids and they're renting and they're working 2 or 3 jobs and they can't buy a home. Well, we have figured out a way for them to do that. So. Those things make a difference, man.
And let's talk about that. How do you set it up so that they can do it? Like what is that? Because nobody's talking about the things that you're doing. You found it's not a loophole, but it's a very specific procedure. That works to get people into homes. To get homes built. Yep. Right. Yep. And to make it a great investment for all your investors. Yes. Right. I know you've got dozens and dozens of investors.
60 or so investors.
60 or so investors. Yep. You're getting them a result. So walk me through how that works.
Yeah. It starts with our costs, right? So it starts with immediately our costs, right? We have to be able to acquire the land or the opportunity at really as much as little as possible, right? Mm-hmm. So, Cleveland, for an example, we've got the land for $1.
Okay.
Yeah,
you can't just gloss over that.
Sorry.
Yeah. You got the land for $1. Yeah. Raise your hand if you would like land for $1.
Right. I mean, in good land too, not like pole dunk out in the suburbs, swampland. We're talking about lots that exist in neighborhoods already that used to have a structure on them.
Okay, so how do you do that?
So we work with the city. We work with the council people that are in the city. We work with the mayor's office, and we sit down with them and say, guys, we know that you guys have a national crisis. Affordable housing is what everybody's talking about. Yep. How do we get these neighborhoods to have more homes so that people can live in? And some of these homes, right? So some of these homes have been abandoned. Some of them have been burned. You've got people that are squatting in these homes that are homeless people that are just in there and they're doing drugs and burning that place down. I mean, or throwing raves. I mean, like, you got some bad stuff that is going on already in these homes that have been abandoned. Why don't we take those over from you? We'll take those off your hand. We'll demolish them. We'll build something that's there that looks good in the community and that we can sell to someone who is in the community that can afford it. If they can't afford it, they can rent it from us.
And the properties are owned by the city?
The properties are owned by the city.
Got it.
Then we go in and we say, let's deed those over. So quick claim deed, you got to have a purchase price of $1. So we buy all the lots for $1.
Wow.
We then either partner with a nonprofit or we do it ourselves. But when you partner with a nonprofit, there's some tax benefits that are associated with it. If you do it by yourself, you don't have those tax benefits. But we also negotiate some tax credits, and then we have some tax abatements. So these lots that we own are $1. We built the structure, no property taxes on these lots for 15 years. Wow. That's transferable, right?
That's amazing.
They get so the people who buy these houses from us don't have to pay property taxes for 15 years.
That's amazing.
Changes the game. It changes the game. And so you've got a lower down payment. You've got we can sell it for less because we're in it for less. We didn't have to pay for the land. And so everybody wins. So now you've got a house that is in a neighborhood that's brand new, that people love, that is preventing crime that is happening in the neighborhood. It's now getting a family that deserves it into a house that they are now starting to build equity, shrinking the wealth gap, like all the things. I mean, you put a check mark out there. We're checking all the boxes. And so you go from city to city and you tell that same message. And so we've been very, very fortunate to have a lot of cities and a lot of people that, I won't say his name, but, really rich, philanthropists that are out there that have made their money in whatever they were doing. And now they've got tons of land and they've got tons of money and they have gotten on board. And so they want to partner with us, and they've heard about us. And so, and I think again, when you do the right thing and you lead with honesty and integrity, and you're trying to actually make a difference, the money will start chasing you.
I think that's amazing. And I know personally that you're either on a yacht, on a private jet somewhere. I'm glad to be sitting down with you. I know you were on Brad Lee's podcast, dropping bombs, like where everybody goes. So you're definitely on the rise right now. And the money is chasing you. And I like to hear that.
Yeah.
So why haven't more developers, I mean, this is a great niche for you, but why haven't more developers done this sooner? What's keeping them from doing this?
I think most developers are probably even more, if they wanted to be, they could be even more wealthier than I am, right? So the money is not necessarily in affordable housing, right? There's a lot of restrictions that you have to, get around. Sometimes you gotta, if you're doing a multifamily, you gotta keep it for 20, 25 years. It's a long time for some people. So other developers that have money, they know the game too, leverage and good debt. They know that game, and they can go and just build whatever they want to build at market rate, charge whatever they want to charge. Gotcha. People that are this is the concept of real estate. The people that are in your units are bringing your debt down while the equity goes up. So that equity in between is just getting larger and larger and larger every year. So, and most developers know that, and they just say, well, I'll do it over here, and I won't necessarily care about, these C communities. Right. I feel like we can do the C communities. We can do both, honestly.
Yeah, because there is a percentage of development that you do that is the market value.
Yes.
And then a percentage that goes to the affordable housing.
Yep. 100%. So I would say we're right now about 60-40. And the reason I do that is because I think we can make great money in affordable housing and no one will starve. But I also think that we need to be diversified. It's just like any stock portfolio. It's like any, book of business that you're looking at. You want to be diversified in not only price point, but also in location.
That's right. That's right. And so now if you're a busy, you're CEO, you're running a company, that real estate's the place to put your money.
Yeah.
But you don't really know who to trust or where to put it, or hey, what kind of return on investment I'm going to get.
Yep.
If somebody wanted to invest with you, do they have that opportunity to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that work?
So you just get in contact with us. So you can go to, GLH Capital, on our Instagram page or glhllc.net. And we've got, our VP of Investor Relations that can you walk you through the process. But you have to be an accredited investor. So we only take on accredited investors.
And what's accredited investor?
So you have to make $250,000 as an individual, $300,000 as a couple, or be worth over $1 million. So we only advertise our fund to accredited investors. But if you are in that, category or classification, we will take, we'll take on your money.
And we'll put the link in the description below.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that sounds great. Yeah. And we're trying really hard not to take, institutional capital. We're trying to make this still feel very, family friendly. I don't want, again, as coming from corporate America and working for institutional money, they control you, and they control the narrative, and I want to control the narrative. Because, again, they look at my portfolio and say, this is great, but Karl, if you did what you were doing here, regular market, you'll be making way more. And so I don't necessarily want to be told what to do, right? So
Yes.
I want to be able to help the communities that we're helping.
That's right. And when we talk about performance, if somebody invests with you, I mean, you can't know what the return's going to be. But do you have any estimated?
We do. Yeah. No, it's a preferred return. So your money is it's going to get a 10 to 12% return. So 100,000 gets you 10%, 200,000 gets you 11%, 300,000 gets you 12%. You can take it out after the year. So if you invest with us for 12 months, you take it out, you go back, you get your principal and interest, and you can go on your merry way. If you leave it with us, you get an additional percentage point. So if you started off at 11, that second year is now 12, all the way up to 15%. So we've got some people in our fund that are getting 15% return. We're taking no risk, and it's super passive. Like there's nothing that they need to know, nothing that they need to do. And you get a dividend every quarter that just comes into your bank account.
So now you know why the money's chasing you. You've solved the investor problem. You've solved the housing problem.
Yeah.
You've solved the affordability problem.
Yeah.
You've solved such big problems with your business.
Yeah.
And that's what we need today. And those are the businesses that will continue to thrive, my man.
Sir Gorman did it.
Sir Gorman did it. Tell me the difference between Karl and Sir Gorman.
Sir Gorman doesn't miss. So Sir Gorman was created with you. And we created it in a warehouse in your office. And that identity is the person who is the most intelligent, has the most charisma, understands real estate the best, and does not miss.
Yes.
Karl is a man of God who's just a flawed person that is trying to make it. But I lean into that alter ego in business. So Monday through Friday, or when I'm not that business ever stops for me, but in the realm of like when I'm in it, that's Sir Gorman who's operating. When I get back home with my kids and my son tells me my stomach's too big, that's Karl. I love it. That's too good, man. That's too good. And if you were to go back to that time, that young Karl who's got the gun to his head with the policeman, what advice would you give that young Karl? Man, I would say that everything's going to turn out the way you want it to, and better. And to work hard as that young Karl did, but enjoy the journey, because it's a seemingly long journey, but it is a short trip. And so from zero to hero goes pretty quickly. And from, that young man was 19 and now I'm 46. So, that seems like it was just yesterday. And now there's a lot of life that's been lived in between those almost 30 years. And so I would give him the advice of enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And you know what, not to cut you off, but I think the piece of advice, and I got this piece of advice from Tony Robbins, but a lot of times people think that they shouldn't have problems.
That's right.
That's the biggest problem.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
You're going to have life. Life is going to life, and it's going to present you with a lot of problems. And as that young Karl was laying on the ground, that was a problem there. And I've had a number of them since then.
Yes.
And that's part of being human. That's the human experience, and we're going to have problems. So don't think that it's ever going to get where it's like, well, I've got no problems today. Like that's never going to happen.
That's right.
So
and I think you nailed it, right? Because that's a thought, especially young people. Like if there's problems,
it's not for me.
It's not for me. I just want to get away from the problem and avoid the problem.
Exactly.
But I think what people don't really understand is that those problems are what makes us stronger.
100%.
You can't grow without a problem.
Yes.
Without the challenge, there is no growth.
Exactly.
And that's what really we're after as human beings is progress and continuing to grow and coming into our full potential, knowing that, hey, we've done everything we can.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You know, I'm doing this bodybuilding competition coming up on Saturday.
You look great, man.
Thanks, man. In 2 days. And people are like, David, what are you doing? I know you want to be healthy or whatever. You know, like, so my purpose, because I've got young kids, two young kids, and I want to be around for a while.
Yeah, right.
And I know that if I'm just, you know, being lazy, not going to the gym, watching Netflix, having drinks or whatever, that I'm not going to be my full potential in my health and my fitness, right? So I haven't had a drink in over 3 years, you know, and it wasn't like I was an alcoholic or anything.
No, right.
But you know, I go to parties. You know, I'll drink the soda water with a lemon. In a little glass on the ice.
And everybody thinks you drink.
Everybody thinks I'm drinking vodka, whatever. And I'm fun loving anyway. Right?
You don't need that.
I don't need it. You know, and then the physical side of it's great, right? You know, being able to get disciplined with food. Not letting food run you. And so for me, that's big. But the biggest part of it is the mental discipline that it takes to go through something like this.
100%.
And it's a challenge or a problem, if you want, but it's a challenge of my choosing.
And
when you choose your own problems and your own challenges, and you put yourself in there, it keeps you going and it's fresh. Okay, we've got this new thing that we're doing. I got to be ready. Who do I need to be to do that? Okay, let's start. And when you start with your physicality, that's always a great place to start getting energy. A lot of people say, I just don't have the energy. People are losing their passion. They're losing their way. They're losing their direction. And
start with the workout.
And start with the workout. Start with the body, the mind. And then when you start talking about what's next, like legacy, and you know, you brought up legacy. A lot of guys and gals right now are in this spot in their life where they're ready for legacy. Like, what kind of legacy am I going to leave? Takes energy. It takes focus.
100%.
It takes you know, health and fitness and things so that you can do the things that you want to do and
100%.
leave the legacy you want to leave.
100%.
So
my son's a little basketball player and he's pretty good, but he's turning 12. I plan to beat him until he's 16.
That's fantastic.
So I gotta stay in shape and gotta eat right and all those things. And every time I'm waking up early and working out, I'm thinking of him.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta beat him.
That's it. That's your competition. Is your 12-year-old.
Exactly.
My 13-year-old, you know, he loves racing go-karts.
Oh
right?
yeah, okay.
You know, and he's soccer and go-karts, and so we'll get in go-karts. I'll get him next to me. He's like, Daddy, I'm gonna beat you. I'm like, no, you're not beating me.
Right.
He'll get me by like a 1/10 of a second, and I'm like, there's that tie, right? And, you know, so it's great. But the fact that you and I get to do that with our kids,
for sure,
you know, is a blessing.
It is a blessing
that we've got our health and that we're able to do that.
100%, man.
Karl Gorman, Sir Gorman. Man, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for coming
out. We're going to put the link if anybody wants to invest with you below.
Perfect.
And man, more great things coming. We got to get out on the golf course again soon.
I would love to.
Let's go with your brother too.
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's go, man. Let's go. That's always a fun time.
All right, man. Come back. You promise you'll come back?
I'll come back. Anytime.
Right.
You call me anytime, man. I'm indebted to you. So anytime you want me back, I'm back.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll do it, man.
Appreciate you, man.
See ya.
All right. This is a house behind me that we bought, we rehabbed, and because it made sense to keep it, we did that. And so we now have a tenant that's in this home that's cash flowing. So we bought this house for $265,000. We put a construction loan on it for $100,000. We only used $50,000. So we were able to get all of our cash back out of the home. And then we are now renting this house for a little over $4,000 a month. And so those are, you know, that cash flows against what we owe on it. And those are the ways that you can do this kind of rinse and repeat all across the country. We've got $45 million worth of real estate where we've done something similar, where we bought it, we rehab it, and now we've got tenants in it. So that's how we do it.
Everyone talks about being rich, but what does rich actually mean?
Yeah, so there's rich with, you know, having the houses, having a car, boat, private jet. All of those things are definition of rich, but those are not my definition of rich. Once you get to those things and once you have those things, I think you will realize that rich is about the freedom that you have.
about the peace of mind that you have, and about giving back to the communities. And so my philosophy has always been the rich mindset. Even when I didn't have the riches that I have now, it was all about giving back to the community and making the community a better place.
I created the Full Potential Formula podcast to help you unleash your full potential. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll continue to create content to help get you there. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.